The EV or electric vehicle landscape is growing and growing quite quickly with new ones coming out all the time. And I'm having a chance to test drive some of these, like the Volkswagen e-Golf, recently the Chevrolet Bolt EV, and now this, the newest from Hyundai, the Ioniq EV. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this Ioniq compares to those other two. The Ioniq EV is based on Hyundai's superstructure. What you get with the superstructure, you get lightweight and a very rigid but strong chassis. Right off the bat on the front, you'll notice that this is an EV because there is no grille. On each side, you have adaptive headlights as well as some pretty stylish LED markers. This Ioniq comes with 16-inch aerodynamic wheels. Talk about aerodynamics. It comes in at 0.24 coefficient drag, which makes this the most slippery Hyundai in the lineup. Onto the back, this is where it gets interesting. You see, the back consists of two pieces of back glass. There's this large piece and the smaller little window here separated by this deck in the middle. Now, one thing, it does hamper a little bit on visibility when you're driving inside, but here's the advantage. When you open it up, because of its shape, it's not sloped all the way down. You're able to fit a lot of things in here, definitely a lot more than we did with the Bolt. I have the same stroller. That one, it was actually almost hanging out on the Bolt. This one fits no problem, as well as my tripod, camera gear, and even this suitcase here. I don't have to actually go put it flat. It can sit almost vertical or sideways like, and because of the shape here, you can close it no problem. She's on, she's alive. The interior of the Ioniq EV is very nice to touch and to look at. A lot of nice soft touch materials everywhere. This is the premium model, the top of the line. So we have the sunroof, we have leather seating surfaces as well. The seats are, first of all, they're very comfortable, but they're heated in the front and the rear. This also has a heated steering wheel, a nice D-shaped steering wheel like you'd see in the Elantra Sport. In the center, you have an 8-inch screen. Now, it's not the largest in its class, but it's very intuitive, very easy to use. And what I like is right below, you have standard buttons for your media, your radio, your map, phone setup, things like that. So you don't have to use a touchscreen. It is a touchscreen, but on quick things, you want to hit the map, you just hit the map, and there it is right in front of you, easy to use. Below that, you have your heating system, and there's a couple of interesting things on here. First of all, on the right side, there is an EV button. Of course, this is an electric vehicle, so why do you need an EV button? It's always an electric, but when you hit that, it's basically a shortcut to bring you to the status of the vehicle. So if you want to see all your electrical parameters, your charging, your nearby stations, you just hit that button, very quick and easy. And to the left, you have a button called driver only. Now this is quite smart. You hit that button. Now, all you're gonna do is it's gonna cool or heat just the driver. And that's gonna save a little bit of power since you're not heating the entire cabin. Quite smart. Now I tell you one thing about the heating and the cooling of this vehicle. When you use the heat, it heats up extremely fast and really hot. And the cooling is crazy, crazy cold, like almost too cold, which is a good thing. So yeah, you have no problem staying warm or keeping cool in this vehicle. Then down to the center here, you have 12-volt outlets. You have a USB and auxiliary in. That's pretty well standard. You have an extra USB in the middle console here. Now talk about the middle console. If you have a phone that supports wireless charging, perfect. Slide that in there. Wireless charging available on this. Talking about phones, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay also come with the vehicle. Now on to right beside here is the transmission selector. First of all, it has this palm thing, kind of like you'd have in a Lexus where you use a trackpad, but there's no trackpad. This is just for the transmission. Now, this is a little bit odd for me though. You get park and neutral, vertical basically on top of each other, but on the left side you have drive, on the right side you have reverse. To me, it just seems backwards. Even on the old conventional column shifters, you'd have park, reverse, neutral, drive. So reverse would be on the left side, drive would be on the right side, and this is just backwards. I'm consistently looking down to go, oh, I hit reverse instead of drive. I'm sure you get used to it, but I don't know why. It's just like we read to left to right, so it should, I think, should be reverse on the left and drive on the right. Now onto the back, ample room for adults or other passengers, and especially when you carry car seats, they take a lot of room. I carried the kids and family around with this, no problem. And along with all that room in that rear cargo area, you'd have no problem using this as an everyday family vehicle. Zero problem. All right, we're on the road in the Hyundai Ioniq EV. I've had it for quite a few days, and like I said, I've taken it with the family. So the utility part of the vehicle, I've got no problem with. It works very well. So how does it drive? Well, first of all, let's talk about what's kind of under the hood or under the car. Of course, it's an electric car, so now we're not really talking about liters anymore. We're talking about the size of motor in a way of how many kilowatts it is. This has an 88 kilowatt electrical motor, and that's matched to its battery system, which is a 28 kilowatt hour battery. So how does it compare to the other two EVs that I've recently tested, which is the e-Golf from Volkswagen and the Bolt EV? And battery wise, this is definitely the smallest. If you go to the Volkswagen, it has a 35.8 kilowatt hour battery, and the Bolt is the biggest one of all with a 60 kilowatt hour battery. So almost double than the e-Golf, and the range does reflect that. So the Bolt, its official rating is about 380 kilometers, and then you go down to the e-Golf, which is 201 kilometers, and you have this Ioniq, which is 200 kilometers. So this and the e-Golf are very similar, even this has a smaller battery. But on the e-Golf, I think they're very conservative with their numbers. Even though it's 201 kilometers, when we drove it, we could easily, at startup, actually get the range up even over 270K. This one here, when you're fully topped up, fully charged, you're looking at about 210, 211 kilometers. So it's definitely smaller. Now, is range everything? A lot of it has to do with drive. This one here, we have a drive mode. We have eco, we have normal, and we have sport. Of course, this is not a sports car, but once you put it into sport, it basically opens everything up. There is zero efficiency at all. Look at this. We just basically burn rubber on dry pavement with this vehicle in a straight line. Tons and tons of torque, and of course that's at 0 RPM. You get 218 pound-feet of torque and 118 horsepower. Doesn't sound like much, but it really does work well in this package. Now, if we put it back into, let's just go to normal, because I want to show you something. So one thing about this is it has regenerative braking, which all electric vehicles have. Some of them you can set how aggressive they are. Some of them have a paddle like the Chevrolet Bolt EV, which I really like because it was kind of like having a handbrake, and you can regen on demand. So the Ioniq has the best of all worlds in my opinion. And so there's two paddles, one on the right, one on the left, very much like you'd have for paddle shifters on automatic manual shifting transmission. So we're coming up to a stop. Now I'm going to hit my left one 3 times, and now I'm at level 3 regen. If you think about it, where left would be your gear down and right would be your gear up. There is zero resistance when you're at level 0, or 0 regen braking at all. And it's kind of an odd feeling. I don't know if any other EVs do that. I think they all have a little bit of resistance, but when you have it all off, like we have right now, so we're doing about 80 kilometers an hour. I let off on the gas, and we're still doing 80 kilometers an hour. It's slowly going down, but we are purely coasting. There's zero resistance. So if I hit the accelerator, and as soon as I let off, there's not that you get in any other vehicle, whether it's electric or even internal combustion engine. Now, if I want to slow down, I can use the brakes, or I can hit my left paddle, and if I want to slow down more, I can hit it again. Well, that's too much slow down. I got to hit the right. So you can really drive this like a manual transmission, and you can also drive it much like a one-pedal drive situation as well. Now, what I like about this method opposed to the regen on demand, like on the Bolt EV, is it has the steps. So if you're going down a large hill, that's the beauty of it. You're going down a large hill, and you don't have to keep on holding it. You'll just hit 1, and it's going to keep you at that right speed. Maybe it's a little bit quick, you hit 2, or you're slowing down too much, you just take it right off and you can coast. It's so easy and so manageable to do. This car is really, really zippy. There's no other way to actually describe it. It's got the right size. It has a very, very light, nimble feel all around. When you're in the city, in and out of traffic, it's hard not to really drive this car hard. It's just so fun and easy just to scoot out into traffic if you need to get out, and then you can just scoot back in. Zero problem. Of course, this is the same with all electric vehicles, but compared to the Bolt and the e-Golf, first of all, the e-Golf, it's heavier, and it also feels heavier and it drives heavier than this does, as does the Bolt as well, because they have a lot bigger batteries. And so that's what you got to really think of. It's not all about range. Yes, range is nice, so you don't always have to be plugging it in. But if you don't need that range, why buy more than what you need? First of all, you're carrying extra weight. And second of all, it costs more money. What's it cost to get into this Ioniq EV? It starts at $35,649, and then it tops out like the model that we have here at $41,849. Of course, there are the government rebates depending on where you live. In Canada, Ontario, you get $14,000 off. That's huge. Quebec, $8,000, and in BC, you get $5,000. So that definitely helps take the sting out of it. But of course, that applies to all EVs, so you don't have to just buy this vehicle. Would I buy this vehicle? I would seriously consider it. I have a hard time though. Basically, I would like the last 3 vehicles that I've driven, the EVs, which is the e-Golf, the Bolt, and the Ioniq. I'd like one vehicle with all the features of all 3 of them. Why? Well, first of all, the Bolt EV, it definitely has the best performance-wise. You have the best range, and you have really, really quick acceleration. But I'm not really big on that interior and really big on the styling so much. So then you get the e-Golf. I like the styling because I like something a little bit more conservative that doesn't really scream I'm an electric car. And I like the drive, and I don't mind the heavier feel. It gives you a really nice planted feel. Then you have the Ioniq, which, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the looks, but I understand that you need to style it like this to be very efficient. I'm really enjoying the interior of the Ioniq. It's easy to use. It's more traditional-like, but it has a lot of utility to it. So ideally, I'd want all 3 cars in one, if that makes sense. One of the nicest things about the Ioniq is that it comes in a family of 3. So maybe the EV isn't for you. Perhaps you don't have easy accessibility to a charging port. So you can go with the plug-in hybrid. You can use it as a regular hybrid or plug it in when you have access to a charging port. Or if you want to eliminate the plug altogether, go for the hybrid. So there truly is an Ioniq for everybody. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more everyday reviews, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.